Welcome back to Gaming News with Spoons. Real quickly, guys, let's go over a couple of quick news segments here. A quick shout out to one of my subscribers who recently brought to my attention a game called Death End Request. Death End Request is, of course, a game that is being developed by Compile Hearts, the same company that brought us the Hyperdimension and the Neptunia games. Though I'm not the biggest fan of those games, there is some enjoyment to be had, but this game seems to be doing something very interesting. I'm very curious to see how it goes. It seems like it's trying to mold a bunch of different genres together and kind of compile them into one. It sounds like a really interesting idea. I want to see how this is executed, especially with something of a Japanese RPG, and knowing Hyperdimensional Neptunia's history and Compile Heart and how they do their games. I'm kind of curious to see where they go. So this is something I'm going to end up covering more on the channel as more information becomes available. Next up, real quickly, let's go over the PlayStation Plus lineup that is coming out this month. For those of you who have the subscription and get free games, Bulletstorm and Yakuza Kiwami. Yakuza Kiwami, of course, is the remake of the first Yakuza game that was on the PlayStation 2. I highly recommend checking this out if you have not picked up a Yakuza game yet and are curious to see what the game is about, how it kind of plays, and if it's ultimately a game for you. Though I don't have experience with Yakuza Kiwami, I have played Yakuza 0 and I really enjoyed that game. Yakuza 0 was a game that I feel like was really great with its story, and I have yet to play anything past that, but the power-up mushroom is the one who got me into the franchise. He has done nothing but praise that. Shout out to my buddy over there at the power-up mushroom. Go ahead and go check him out. And let's get into our bigger news. So for those of you who followed what happened this week at BlizzCon, you're probably aware that Diablo Immortal has gotten a mobile game. This is only a mobile game in there, and one of the questions that was brought up during the panel was if this was going to come to PC. Now, there has been quite a bit of controversy floating around to how the video game community has reacted to Blizzard's recent announcement, but I get some of the backlash that they're technically getting, especially after the comment made that, no, this is only going to be a mobile game, there's no plans to bring this over to the PC. The crowd booed, and well, Blizzard poured salt into the open wound by saying, do you guys not have a smartphone? I thought that was a very condescending comment to make, especially, you know, when someone had a legitimate question, are there any plans to bring this over to the PC? I feel like it would have been better. This is a mobile game as of right now. Currently, there are no plans to bring it over to the PC, but that is definitely an option we can weigh later on down the road. I don't understand why you would make such a comment as, don't you guys have smartphones? That just seems really stupid to me. So I can definitely see why gamers are pissed. Leading on to that, of course, the comment the guy made, is this an early April Fool's joke? That again was a kind of condescending comment, which probably caught the developers off guard. So both of them could have gone about that a very different way, but Blizzard should have taken that last statement a little bit, maybe tried a little bit of something else rather than outright going about it the way that they did. Moving on to another article here, we're going to go ahead and pull up an article from Silicon Era, and Sony is yet again at it with their censoring policies. So Nekopar on the PlayStation 4 removes jiggly physics sliders and bathing scenes are steamier than ever. Sony's new policy has been a hot topic as of late, and fans are starting to see more of its effects with the release of Nekopara Volume 1 for the PS4 in Japan that saw some changes from the Switch version. As soon as Nekopara for the PlayStation 4 released in Japan, fans looked out to see for any differences from the Switch version that released earlier in July. As one of the most noticeable changes was the removal of the chest bounciness option. As you can see in the above image, the Switch version has it on the bottom, while the PS4 version has omitted that. This option determines how sensitive the bust move with the physics in motion it has been disabled. The petting feature has not been removed on the PS4. There are many extra sun rays added as promised by Neko Works. However, the bathing scene CGIs have noticeably been more steamier on the PS4 versions, as you can see at the above examples that show the PS4 versions on top and the Switch versions on bottom. Prior to the release of Nekopara Volume 1 on the PS4, a fan retweeted, if the official Nekopara Twitter says there won't be any white rays on the PS4 version, why was it delayed then? To which NekoWorks representative Sayo responded, please consider the possibility of having those white rays had it not been delayed. So this again is another one of Sony's attempts to censor their games. The Japanese teams, development teams, are really starting to take a notice of this and going in and censoring their games. This is something that I'm not okay with. I mean, is it really necessary for Sony to go above and beyond to try and remove jiggly physics out of a game? It's like games like Dead or Alive and have been doing it forever. Why all of a sudden is this becoming such a big deal? And, you know, not to mention that Sony's new policies is just hurting the Japanese developers from making the games that they're wanting to make. You know, with the physics sliders being out of there. It's ridiculous to see this. And it's not like there hasn't been games that have had nudity in it. God of War, The Witcher, Mass Effect Andromeda, Dragon Age Inquisition. There are plenty of other games that have featured nudity, and I'd say far worse scenes than this. I really don't want to see Sony keep continuing to go down this path, as I think it's going to end up being detrimental to the video game industry. We all know that the Japanese anime does love its sexual humor. Even things such as the 7 Deadly Sins have made suggestive and sexual content to try and get a laugh out of the viewer. It's definitely something that can be comical, and I think most of us understand that it's not okay in real life to go out and perform these acts. I don't get it. That's why these games have a mature rating. That's why these games are rated M for mature, and the ESRB rating needs to reflect that. So I don't understand why Sony is starting to make this huge push. It's absolutely frustrating to see. Let's get into some happier news and talk about a new game that's coming to the Nintendo Switch. And this, of course, is a new Touch Detective game. Touch Detective, for those of you who do not know, was a game that was released on the Nintendo DS way back in the day. I believe there was 2 or 3 of them. But Touch Detective Switch game is coming to the West as Funghi Puzzle, Funghi Explosion on December 20th. We learned earlier this month that the 3DS puzzle game Touch Detective Fungi's Big Breed is coming to the Switch this December, and D3 Publishers is bringing it westward on the same date as an eShop release. So, again, I never really played any Touch Detective games on the Nintendo Switch, but I do know that they were, or not on the Nintendo DS, but I do know that they were popular back in the day. I do remember seeing them, and they always did look kind of fun. Maybe we'll go in and check this out on the channel, but if you are a fan of Touch Detective, this is probably something you're going to want to keep your eyes out, and December 20th is really just right around the corner, guys, so check out this game, see what it is, and let me know if it's worth checking out. We may cover it on the channel. Next bit of news we have comes from Jimatsu, and Sakura Wars is no longer due out on March 31st, 2019. So Sakura Wars is of course a RPG made by Sega, and I believe there's only been one game that has come out in the franchise, Yakuza. I'm reading this Yakuza's there, sorry guys. But Sakura Wars So Long My Love released on the Wii and the PlayStation 4. I did play this back on the PlayStation 2 during the day. It did have some elements of a dating simulator as well as a lot of strategy mech-based combat. It was a very fun game. I actually really enjoyed it. So I am hoping this new entry comes out to the West, but it has been, of course, delayed. Will not be releasing during the fiscal year. So if you were planning on porting the Japanese version over, you're unfortunately going to have to wait. That is going to do it, guys, for Gaming News with Spoons. Thank you so much for tuning in to the channel, and be sure to hit subscribe there for me to keep up to date with gaming news, especially that of the from the Japanese side of gaming. You guys have been watching Gaming with Spoons. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Links are going to be down below in that description box. And most importantly, stay happy, be happy, game happy. Spoons is checking out.